Oh, here we go. Actual game. Running fat man, dressed in purple, mark of nobility, aristocracy, a patrician class. Would say member of the Senate, but no member of the Senate in the mid-imperial era is really well enough. Oh, Reeves on the ears. Okay, so we've got ourselves an emperor. Who's that going to be then? We've got older man. Okay, made it to old age. Old man, fat man, Claudius? Possibly Emperor Claudius here. Though the size of the palace makes me think later. This, like, feels pretty late on. Oh, hello, Rome that's not looking good.
I, Nero, Augustus Germanicus.
Nero? What? No. What? Nero died at the age of 30. Whoa. Who's... No, what? Those aren't rebels, those are barbarians. What? What? Nobody invaded Rome during cocking Nero's reign. You're stabbed. Yep, stab you a bit. That was just pulling the sword back out of him. Okay, we could try that. We can try. You have to. What do you have to say? Romans use sensible military tactics. Yeah, apparently that was close enough. Excellent. Well done, Xbox. Yes, we noticed. There's quite a few of them for some reason. So, we're in the reign of Nero, and barbarians have just invaded Rome.
He's here. Help me. I command you.
My Emperor, the palace defenses have been breached.
I'm not worried about the barbarians. I'm worried about him.
We need to get you somewhere secure.
The barbarians are at the gate, so the door opens, the Emperor runs over personally. Bloody hell. Yeah, this is exactly what the Freemen are for. This is what Freemen are actually for. Escort Nero to the vault. Can I just stab him? No, I can't. I can kind of... Oh, now I can. Can I not? Oh, no, I can't while I'm next to him. All right, can I push him? No, I can just do a weird lunge. Here comes a general. Am I a general? I don't think I've got the right hat for a general, quite frankly. Soldier, stand down. There's literally no... I'm sure the staircase is very afraid of you. I just wish we had a chance to speak to these guys and just kind of say to them, who are you guys? Where are you from? Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Parlez-vous Francais? Where are you from? Because historically speaking, I don't think you should be here. You might have taken a wrong turn at the fall of the Western Empire. Oh, unless we are actually doing that, but no enemy force flipping occupied Rome during the damn reign of Nero. Oh, everyone's on fire apart from me.
Oh, come on. Come on.
I have a story to tell, says the game. Oh, you do, but it's not one that's very historically accurate, I think.
Damocles is a myth. Only men kill men, my Emperor.
Well, plenty of other things kill men too. Wolves, they were a big problem at this point in history. Ooh, nice traditional Roman architecture there. Someone actually did some decent research as to what Roman gates and floors and architecture looked like. That's good work. Also, hang on a minute. That's the Colosseum over there.
I've heard rumors there is great unrest in Rome.
Yes, these are dangerous times we live in.
Yeah, no. Nero was killed at the age of 30, but he's still emperor. It's bloody weird.
During a massive battle, his cowardly commanders abandoned him.
Now, rather than falling back into the rest of the Roman lines and actually, you know, rejoining them and forming an effective fighting force, he decided to sacrifice himself like a bloody idiot, which was a stupid thing to do. And really, the Roman military teaches people about standing together as one and not just rushing off and being a hero. So actually, everyone was really annoyed at Damocles, and Damocles was an idiot. And everyone in Damocles' unit says, for God's sakes, the rest of us fell back. Why didn't he fall back with us? But the whole point of the Roman army is we stand together. Oh, wait, no, of course not. Damocles is supposed to have been the hero because he went rushing off on his own on a one-man suicide mission, even though that's the complete opposite of what Roman military discipline's all about. But that's the opposite of what any military discipline is all about. You can't just bloody run around wanting to be the hero personally. You can't just run ahead and say, don't worry, I'll personally run on a suicide mission and then we shall win. If everyone did that, you'd all lose against any form of... I probably should have been reading the story then, but I'm guessing the actual point is, oh, Damocles was a great hero and he was so brave and he went to hell, but they sent him back because he gets to kill cowards or something.
Barbarians!
Is there never not barbarians in Rome? You're telling me that the thing with Nero was the bloody second time? The second time in 10 years that barbarians had invaded Rome? It didn't happen that often. It didn't happen at all. You're a Roman. You know the way to the Senate House. You're close enough to the centre of Rome that you've got the Colosseum in sight. Why is it that you can't find your way to the Senate House? That's like living in Westminster but not knowing the way to the Houses of Parliament. You know.
That way. There lies your destiny.
Who are you? Are you a goddess? Yes, you're totally a goddess. Which goddess are you supposed to be? I'm not sure. So is that actually the Colosseum? I mean, it must be. There's no building that big, and it's designed like the traditional Colosseum was supposed to have always been, which is So if that's the Colosseum there, then. So here's the thing. Nero died. Nero died in 68 AD, and the Colosseum, the lovely building that you see before you, was not even started being built until 72 AD. It was finished somewhere around like 80 AD-ish. So, I guess we're in an alternate universe where Nero didn't die at the age of 30, and instead it's now, we must be past 80 AD, because the Colosseum's built, but he was still emperor at the time, which kind of made sense, because Vespasian, the guy who did build it, and the money that was used to build this thing, which was from the Jewish revolt, Nero was the one who started the Jewish revolt, kind of by accident, and he was the one who sent Vespasian to clean it up, and Vespasian did clean it up, and Vespasian would actually later become emperor, and that's when he built it. But I guess if he hadn't been emperor, then it might make sense that actually Nero would have done the same thing, because he'd have had like loads of the money rather than Vespasian not having quite as much, I guess. So that would put us in somewhere around alternate universe 90 AD, Nero's still alive but a lot older, Colosseum built. Alright, that's fine. That's the assumption I'm now working on. We're at alternate universe 90 AD. Nero's probably still... God knows how Nero flipping survived an extra 30 years or something. Nero was not a popular man.
The island of Britannia. That fetid lair at the edge of our empire.
Fetid? Oh, la-dee-da.
My posting with the 14th would take us to these isles, where I would wreak my revenge, crushing this insurrection.
Wait, hang on. We're leading a naval expedition against Britain? Really? Are we? Well, that kind of blows my alternate universe theory 90s Rome out of the water, because Britain never needed to be invaded again. Britain's invasion was complete at 42 AD under Claudius, and then Britain never needed any reinforcements again. Any trouble that showed up in Britain, local forces dealt with it themselves, right up to the point where the Western Empire withdrew entirely. So, oh! White Cliffs of Dover. Interesting. Wait, sorry, giant chains. Giant chains, but wait, what? Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Are we saying that the Britons of the 1st century AD were capable of building giant watchtowers with chains rising up? Or that possibly the British had stolen this technology from the Romans? I'm doing a really good job swimming in this jelly, because it doesn't look much like water, and also you're wearing very metal armour. Wait, oh bloody hell. Right, some British bastard on a rock. Oh, we've got more flipping gods, do we? Oh, fine, everyone's a flipping god. You know, the first thing you'd probably do would be you'd undo your massive metal armour and you'd let that go. Because you can't swim in that. No, I'm sorry, I don't care how good a swimmer you are. You can't swim in what you're wearing. Roman armour was not meant to be swum in. So basically the fleet is now just trapped outside this harbour. And it can't land because there's these chains in the way, which incidentally is not something that happened in real history. They've stolen that idea from, well, ironically, not even from Roman history. They've stolen that idea from Greek history, where it wasn't used to keep ships out, but to stop them escaping once they were already in. This is the end of this is the Syracuse disaster in Athenian history, where Athens sent a huge number of ships to try and take over Sicily, and it didn't go very well at all. And they were finally trying to escape, but unfortunately Syracuse's harbour chains were raised up to stop the Athenians escaping, and they tried to kind of escape anyway, and it didn't go well. They all ended up sunk. And in fact, we know that happened because thanks to the nature of the water and thanks to the nature of the water and kind of the marshiness in that area, we can go and have a look-see at those ships. There's a lot of them still down there in the waters of Syracuse. So they've just stolen that from somewhere else. But the interesting thing is, of course, now we're doing this whole, oh, the ships can't get past the chain, so I've got to lower the chain. This is actually something that came up in Roman history. Not during whatever bloody, baffling, made-up history period that is happening here. Julius Caesar, when he was invading Britain for the first time, basically got all his men on his ships, sailed towards Britain, and as he approached Britain, saw on the beaches that there was a lot of defences drawn up. Lots of barbarians were on the beaches going, yeah, Romans, come ashore, we'll kill you all as you get off the boats. And Caesar did the very logical thing, which none of these Romans have thought of, which is he said, okay, those guys are all on foot, and I've got ships. Alright, guys, we're going 7 miles up the coast that way, because Britain is an island. It has a lot of coast you can flipping land on. So instead, yeah, basically, Julius Caesar just said, yeah, we'll go 7 miles that way. And they did go 7 miles that way, found a nice area to land 7 miles up that way, all disembarked. And by the time the barbarians caught up with them, Caesar got all his troops safely and quietly off the ships, drawn up, and they easily beat the barbarians. But no, apparently in this case, we've got to land at this precise point right here. There's nowhere else we could possibly land. You can also deflect arrows. Deflect arrows? Are you absolutely mad? How are you going to do that? Alright, let's try it. Wow, okay. I can actually just bat arrows out of the air. I'm that damn badass. Is anyone going to use the word testudo? Anyone going to bother? And hide.
We are going to take out that tower, men. Let's move.
But no, let's continue. No, continue to stay in the rank. These guys have got... Where are you guys going? Just stay in rank. Romans had ranks. That's what they were good at. They were good at staying in a nice, solid line. You see, now all of a sudden, everyone's acting in a vaguely sensible fashion, which is that just kind of hanging out there in a big line and just hiding behind their shields and counter-stabbing. That's much more in line with what Romans would have done. Who built this technology? Who built this massive, great thing? These huge, great chains. Because this was not barbarian engineering. This is clearly supposed to be Roman engineering. These are the Roman defences built at Dover. Which isn't what's at Dover. I'm going to put on screen now, because I know this. I'm going to put the ruins of the remains of the structure that was actually built at Dover. It's this. Whereas, apparently, no, that's not what this game has decided. This game has decided that at Dover, the Romans had in fact built... Oh, what the hell is that ahead of us?
The brave man tastes death once. Cowards, 1,000 times over.
What does that mean?
And we know they bleed as we do.
That was never in question.
On me.
Good, he's yelling on me. That's just military tactics. There we are. Regroup your men and retake the beach. Perfect. Why is everyone not... What the hell is that even supposed to be? Why are they dropping white phosphorus on us? Why is everyone just running around and dying? Oh, for goodness sake. Hang on. Let's just go into regen mode. Right. Yes. Oh, no one has decided that they're going to... Oh, I'm about to be killed. No, I'm not. I'm fine. No one is sticking together. Everyone's just jumped off the ships and they're just running. Oh, for good. Okay, fine. So it's pretty clear what's going on here. They wanted to do a beach landing scene, and whoever designed this beach landing scene had only one frame of reference, which is the Normandy landings, the D-Day landings. So they decided they're just going to literally steal things shot for shot from Saving Private Ryan, and screw it, we'll just go with it, eh? So this is apparently what they think Dover did look like, despite how we now know what it actually looked like. Didn't look like this. This is Gondor. This is actually Gondor that they've decided to build instead of what Dover was actually like. So, Never mind. I mean, this wasn't the Roman way. The Roman way wasn't really to, like, massively fortify areas they'd already conquered. Which is kind of strange when you think about it, but Rome generally was a bit of a forward-looking organisation. They decided that, as a general rule, they decided where the boundary was going to be, and that's where they fortified it. So they decided, you know, Hadrian's Wall later in the Empire. So they built a big wall to keep out the Scots, because bloody Scots, eh? Whereas, no, don't jump back down again. There's clearly a couple of things behind me I need to collect. Yeah, they just decided that that Hadrian's Wall was going to be the boundary, so they built a wall there. Romans weren't really one for building defences around the ports of areas they'd already taken, because they generally assumed areas they'd taken were going to stay Roman. Which you might call presumptuous, but for the most part, it actually did work pretty well. You know, kind of the point of Rome was its infantry were completely insurpassable. That its infantry were the best infantry in the world. There was nothing that could beat Roman infantry. If you just got an enemy, one-on-one against a Roman soldier, Roman soldiers couldn't be beat. Their discipline, their training, their tactics were absolutely unbeatable. I feel like this game hasn't quite captured that in some places. You're not even gonna bother getting involved, are you? Where are you going? You're gonna go and stand over there. And then look around. Excellent. Are there any more javelins? Oh, I've got a nice vista. I've got a lovely vista of a thing that historically didn't happen. What's going on down here?
Salute your new centurion!
Centurion is not actually that good a rank, you know. Centurions only commanded 80 men. I know what you're thinking, it's 100. It ought to be 100. It wasn't. Centurions commanded 80 men in combat and 20 auxiliary troops who never actually fought on the front lines.
They are a race of rabid bastards who will fight us tooth and nail!
Goddamn British bastards!
But they don't know what they are up against.
Rome is power! We are Rome!
What happened to the last group of Rome? Because Britain was already held by Romans. What happened to all of them? Did they all get defeated by the barbarians by any chance? Because if so, I feel like the barbarians aren't going to be that scared. You're just another group of Romans, really. Now, who's this bloke? Who's Staggery McMessageson?
King Oswald's barbarian army is advancing on York.
Who's King Oswald?
General Commodus and the 6th cohort engaged the enemy. But their fate is unknown.
Oh, we're just making up names at this point. Oswald and Commodus. Excellent news.
We march for York!
Oh, good. The achievement even acknowledges that they just ripped off Saving Private Ryan. Excellent.
We were closing in on the very birthplace of this revolt, where King Oswald and his warrior daughter ruled.
Sorry, wait. King Oswald and his daughter Boudica? Oh, we've gone straight off the deep end here.
The hairy-ass bastards must outnumber us 20 to 1.
Gosh darn hairy-assed British people.
Their leader, King Oswald, and his daughter Boudica are down there amongst them. If we capture him, the tribal chiefs will have to sue for peace to secure his safe release. Then Oswald will be forced to bow his knee and swear an oath to Rome. And these Britons, they are honourable in their own way.
They have no honor. These vermin dare to stand against the might of Rome. They deserve to suffer our retribution.
Our retribution? Or yours?
Sir,
Enough!
You know what, Vitellion? It's a bit of a dick move to kind of shout down Maris because he wants revenge when you brought him specifically to give him revenge.
A small detachment will infiltrate the enemy camp and capture Oswald and Boudica. I will lead our main force and cut off their reinforcements.
and what are my orders, sir?
I promised you blood, didn't I? You will capture Oswald and Boudica.
I will say I was thrilled to see some actual intelligent military tactics there, which is Rome very often did decide rather than wiping everyone out or engaging in open battle, if they could just capture the leader or the family of the leader, then they could just basically, force tribes to sue for peace and then just make the leader swear an oath to Rome. In fact, that's actually, well, the Boudica story they've clearly just made up. So here's the actual Boudica story. King Oswald is not a thing. They've just made this up. King Oswald flipping Boudica. Yes, Boudica was actually, the problem with her was her husband was, what was his name? Prostagus, I think it was. Basically, he had sworn allegiance to Rome, and when he died, Rome kind of expected his kingdom would lapse into Rome's ownership, which is kind of how Rome operated. If you swore allegiance to Rome, you got to keep your kingdom, but when you died, your kingdom lapsed to Roman ownership. That's how Roman law operated, in fact. But Prasutagus basically, well, we don't know what he expected, because history doesn't record that, but Boudica basically decided that she didn't fancy that sort of thing. It didn't really suit her intention, so she was therefore going to lead a rebellion against Rome. So Oswald, I don't know why the hell they've made it father and daughter when it's supposed to be about husband and wife and the dead husband. I have no flipping clue why they've decided to change that. It doesn't really make much sense to me, but yeah, the whole that whole thing was a bit of a common Roman thing. The whole taking of hostages, swearing of oath, making tribes sue for peace by capturing key important towns and so forth. That was, yeah, that's actually Roman. That's kind of a Roman-ish sort of thing. So I'm glad that is there. There's a slightly unnerving pro-imperialist message to this game. This idea like, oh, Rome brought peace and great riches to this isle, and all that was ruined because those damn people who wanted freedom. Well, not to point out that there's kind of quite a lot of analogues for that throughout history or anything, but, you know, the idea that you can say, well, we brought infrastructure and wealth, so that means you need to shut up and accept not having freedom. Quite a lot of countries having dealt with that option eventually said, actually, you know what, we quite like being free. We'd actually quite like to be free. Could we just be free, please? That's not a bad thing, but like, there's a blend here, which is, as a classicist, like, my view is generally a lot of history kind of says, oh, you know, the Roman Empire was great. There's the old classic Life of Brian sketch where, you know, what did the Romans ever do for us? Oh, they brought roads and infrastructure and da-da-da-da. And that's true. The Romans definitely brought a large amount of infrastructure and trade and so forth, and sometimes security and peace to some areas. But the thing that you've got to remember about Rome is Rome's kind of many of its conquests were made on a very economic basis. The thing was, when Caesar, you'll probably notice, like, if you read Roman history, well, why did Caesar invade Britain, and then why did Claudius have to do it again in 42? Caesar invaded Britain and then tried to calculate whether Britain was worth holding. And from what we can tell, from a pretty kind of dry economic calculation of looking at how much did Britain cost to hold versus how much did it generate for Rome, they decided Britain wasn't worth holding on that basis. Oh, blimey, traps. So yes, it was a purely cold academic, economic sort of calculation that they did there. So, ooh, multiple different routes. Hello. So it was like Rome did not just bring prosperity and wealth to everywhere it went. Like, on the contrary, arguably Rome actually brought an awful lot of Rome drained a lot of wealth. It's very arguable to say, well, Rome kind of created wealth because Rome brought the infrastructure that allowed wealth to flourish, but Rome also then drained a lot of that wealth. And Rome definitely brought a lot of corruption. Rome brought a lot of bad things as well, aside from just the straight up, you're no longer free. And people just don't like being not free. And why didn't you send me with javelins? I could have killed all three of these guys. But no, apparently I have to do it with my sword. The game takes a really kind of weird pro-Roman attitude, which is very, very odd, this kind of civilization versus barbarians idea. It takes a very black and white view to it. It's like, you basically walk past pro-Roman propaganda, like the piles of Roman corpses stacked under the aqueduct there. It's like, well, yes, quite a few Roman people might have died in the uprising, but you know what might have, stopped the Romans all being killed? Maybe if two subsequent emperors hadn't decided to actually, invade Britain and occupy it in order to have its wealth, in order to fund Rome. Maybe if you hadn't done that, maybe none of this would have happened. But yeah, mysteriously, this game takes a really weird pro-occupation, pro-imperial position, which is kind of odd. Hang on, if Boudica's alive, that means we can precisely date this. That means we can precisely date where this is actually going on. And that doesn't make any sense at all. Oh, fly me, let's just hide over here for a sec. So the problem we've got here is we can now officially date this. Boudica is AD 60. Go grab the things. Boudica is AD 60, the rebellion of Boudica. 60 or 61. Roman history is sometimes it's quite difficult to date precisely. Yeah, so the Boudica rebellion actually happened under Nero, the actual historical Nero. But this is a bit odd because, of course, this has all changed a bit. Yeah, because Nero in AD 60 would have been 27 or thereabouts. That's roughly how old he would have been, yeah. So the fact that, yes, stop the ballista, I know, I'm working on it. You've thrown enemies at me, it's not really my fault. Okay, so this history makes literally no sense, because Boudica died before Nero was 30, and our Nero is apparently 60 years old, so there's no way we can defend this on grounds of alternate universe. This is just gibberish universe at this point. Okay, I guess that's supposed to be Boudica herself, but I've just stabbed her in the chest! I just stabbed Boudica, and it worked! And it's just sticking out of her breasts! That's beautiful. That's just, and I've already weakened her massively. That's the best thing ever. She's lost tooth and she's already dead. Oh, that's beautiful. I took out 2/3 of her hits before we even began. I'd like the game a whole more if you just spent the whole game doing this or things like this, because this is actual sensible Roman military tactics. Going into a massive hole where they blatantly could just roll a boulder down afterwards is not, however, sensible Roman military tactics. They'd probably do something more sensible than this. Going into this big tunnel is just a dangerous idea. This place could be full of a lot of traps. No, I like how they're running ahead when I'm still... They're just running past their commander! Their commander was being attacked and they just ran straight past. Now this, because of the way it's decorated, we've got to assume this was a British thing, not a Roman thing. But that really doesn't make much sense, because the thing is, Boudica's people were the Iceni, and they were from Norfolk. And the best thing that the people of Norfolk have ever been able to build in their entire history, including up to today, is Norwich. And the biggest contribution to human endeavour that Norwich has ever made is Alan Partridge. So this is not a race of prolific, incredible innovators and builders. He decided his personal guard. Can his personal guard be bothered? Do I have to fight his personal guard? Trouble in Sherwood. I'm supposed to be in Nottingham. Right. That's not where Boudica and Oswald. Boudica was a member of the Iceni tribe. So, I wouldn't be in Nottingham. I'd be... Oh, hello, Boudica.
Surrender! Or I'll end your bloodline.
Now! Enough!
Oh god, what is this now? What ridiculous Roman fortification supposedly exists in Nottingham at this point? Or have we marched them down south back to London? Which we shouldn't have done, because London, though it's a big city these days, at the time of the Boudica revolt, London was only 20 years old. It was tiny. It was a little trading post. And Boudica burnt it to the ground, actually. Boudica did really well in her rebellion. She burnt down modern-day Colchester. She burnt down modern-day St Albans. She burnt down, well, she did a lot of damage to modern-day London. But this male figure in her story has just been introduced. Kind of a bit weird, because Boudica, like the whole point of Boudica was she was a strong warrior queen, and arguably she did less than history records. But arguably, yeah, it's a bit weird that they've added King Oswald into it, because it kind of undermines her.
This must be the work of the Praetorians.
Wait, the Praetorians don't have independent authority to act as they see fit. The Praetorians are just the bodyguard of the Roman Emperor. They wouldn't be here. Who the hell's that?
Friends of Rome, may I present to you Basilius, son of the Emperor.
Nero didn't have a son! He had one daughter. She died in not childbirth, but very soon afterwards.
My brother Commodus is still missing. I intend to find out what these savages have done with him.
We Britons lived in peace under the rule of the old Roman chieftain. But this new chieftain, Commodus, son of your king, is evil. He deserves the fate that he is suffering. I've nothing more to say.
Then it is clear to me that you Britons do not love as we Romans do. Your girl? She is beautiful. Flog her until he talks, or she dies. Whichever comes first.
No! Hold her! How dare you!
Oh, I'm really hating this bit. Boudica is a strong, interesting character in history, and they've reduced her into a flimsy female character. Fear of her being flipping raped or murdered makes Oswald reveal crucial information. She's just become a flipping tool to use against Oswald, who isn't even a historical figure. we don't have many kind of interesting historical warrior queens in history. We've got Artemisia in Herodotus, whose role we pretty much are certain was massively exaggerated. We've got Boudica. We've got... I think that's it, actually. I can't think of any major, well-known, actual historical warrior queens other than that. So, pretty much only Boudica. Don't take her away. Don't reduce her to the role of the daughter of the actual king who gets threatened with stabbing to make him cooperate.
You will find your chieftain in darkness beyond the wall, where the lowering barren mountains tower over the black, bottomless lochs. Horned men from ancient times roam this land, and of those who venture there, few return.
It's cocking Scotland, not the waste beyond the wall. This isn't Game of Thrones, it's just Britain.
Oswald's foreboding words haunted us as we marched ever deeper into the unforgiving darkness. Horned men from ancient times roam these lands.
Yeah, that's what Scottish people look like pretty much if you've never met one. Boudica is... I don't even flipping know. Boudica's supposed to have died. Rome didn't need to reinforce to come and take Boudica. Boudica never kicked anyone out of Britain. The local guy who was around there, Paulinus, I think his name was, he dealt with it. Nero, ironically, considered, maybe Julius Caesar was right all along. Maybe Britain's not bloody worth holding on to. But he considered actually pulling out. He considered pulling out of Britain entirely. Exactly what Julius Caesar had done, because Claudius's invasion was arguably not a very good idea. But no, instead we have this rather strange alternate universe where Boudica's revolt apparently kicked the Romans out of Britain entirely, and the Romans had to re-invade it, but mysteriously, even though they'd... Wait, the barbarians had literally kicked the Roman forces out of their southern ports, but they hadn't taken the northern city. I don't even bloody know.
I'll scout ahead.
Centurions don't just go ahead on their own to scout. You know who does go and scout on their own ahead? Scouts! Scouts do that. On horseback, Romans would often send small cavalry units up ahead. You know why? Because cavalry units are much, much faster. So of course you'd send the cavalry up ahead, because if they run into trouble, they can get away again. If you send one person on foot ahead as a scout, what happens if he runs into cavalry? He can't escape from the cavalry, he can't outrun them, so he'd just get run down and stabbed for a bit. In actual fact, by this part of the empire, a great deal of the Roman army wasn't actually originally Roman. Serving as an auxiliary out in the empire was a very good way of kind of earning your way to citizenship and greater status. And when I say this point of Roman history, I mean the point in Roman history I'm sort of guessing we are, because we can't be entirely sure. What was his name? The other son, the one who was blatantly dressed up like the flipping king of Persia. Basilius, something like that. Oh, that's another Roman who's not doing so hot there. Well, actually, he's doing pretty damn hot. That's probably the problem. So, yes, the thing that they mentioned last week that was kind of interesting was they said, Basilius said Commodus was behind the wall. Which is, yes, obviously implying Hadrian's Wall, which is a very odd thing to say, given obviously Hadrian's not around at this point. Hadrian came after Nero, so, you know, whatever. So I'm guessing in this version of history, Nero just built flipping everything. Nero built the Colosseum. Nero built his Golden Palace. Nero built Hadrian's Wall. Nero's built the entire flipping Roman Empire with his own two hands. Kill the Minotaur Chief Glot. Marvellous. The Minotaur Chief. Oh, Vitalian's in there. We're rescuing Vitalian. I thought we were supposed to be rescuing the son of the Emperor. I mean, I'm not saying Vitalian Captain Pogs is, you know, not good, but we really ought to rescue the son of the Emperor first. Oh, this is what we brought. We genuinely did make a ram in order to take on a Wickerman. This is, of course, a device designed to take out city gates, but we're going to use it to... I don't know. Batter one of the legs?
Sometimes a man must look past what he thinks he sees.
Yes, we knew it was a bloke in a mask. Not even close to Roman architecture. That sort of thing wouldn't be built in Britain for like a millennium after this point.
How dare you!
In my mind, Commodus is actually a time traveller from the future who's come back to sort out history because Commodus isn't supposed to be here. Now, if he encourages Boudica to lead her own personal rebellion with her daughter in Britain, and a bloke called Paulinus has to show up to fix it, he's just fixed the timeline and he's the greatest hero of them all. Oh, we're evacuating! We're getting the civilians to the docks. We're actually evacuating Britain! Amazing! That didn't happen for quite a few centuries yet, but okay, where are we going? I'm guessing up. It says ramparts, let's go upwards. Okay, so can confirm this is quite a realistic portrayal of the north of England. Not, you know, quite as eternal night and darkness as in Scotland, but pretty damn grey and misty. Yeah, this is fair. This is quite fair. Wait a minute, those are siege towers! The Britons had siege towers ready! I'm beginning to doubt that Oswald was serious about his intention to make peace, quite frankly. Oh, blimey. I'm quite amazed he sued for peace at all, if this is the flipping army he had ready. Right, what are we going to do? We could target the siege towers. No siege tower will reach the wall, but siege engine fire will continue. Or target the siege... Wait. Oh, it's both. It's siege engines versus... They're just synonyms for each other. There's no distinct... Oh, never mind. Now, what are we supposed to be doing? Is there going to be like a Scorpio that I can use? Oh, there is a Scorpio I can use. Hello. Right. I feel like this Scorpio isn't pointing in a good direction. This is not a useful Scorpio. I can't flip it. The Scorpios... Oh, that's where they are. They're over here. All right, fine. Now, where are the enemy coming from this time? Where are the enemy coming from? Oh, oh, peeler. Peeler, peeler, peeler. No. Down you go. I want you to imagine a game where you were playing as a British redcoat and your objective was to go to America, hold an American city, kill all the Americans who tried to take it back from you, and when you were done, all your soldiers cheer your name. I want you to imagine how you would feel about that, because that's pretty much what this game is. This game is constantly cheerleading naked aggression and imperialism.
The South Gate has fallen!
They didn't have bears in Britain. We've never had bears in Britain. They don't just get to show up in bear hides. Perhaps next lot would just like to show up with a skinned unicorn tied to their flipping heads. Now, I've been to York, and as you're probably very aware, nobody built this here. If the Romans had built this in York, this would be the most impressive building in York even today. Oh dear, hello battalion. Also, while I appreciate that an atrium with a big hole is a common Roman architectural feature, you'd think if they were building in, you know, Britain, that have figured out by the time they actually got to the roof, actually, you know what, lads? Britain, maybe no holes in the roof. Rains quite a bloody lot here. And also, even in Roman architecture, by the way, even if you were to have like a big hole in the atrium, you did it because there was a pool here, which caught the water, so it didn't matter. There was like a pool and a drain, so it wouldn't flood the house. I mean, in this case, if it rains, then the water just lands here and floods down into the courthouse. Basically, it's just a hole that floods the courthouse. Because the water should just be flowing down this slope. But never mind, eh? Lots of people on crosses. Obviously, they've actually got it right. Yes, the crucifixion cross, as kind of was popularised by Christianity, was not necessarily actually always used. The X cross was used an awful lot too. So, yes, okay. Well done, game. Well flipping done. Though obviously this is actually complete garbage. The idea that, like, you know, the emperor was, you know, everyone was dying and there were refugees fleeing Rome and it was all terrible and horrific. Emperors were fundamentally populist. That's kind of where Julius Caesar actually even kind of came in. The fact he was a very popular leader who enacted very populist policies. Augustus did the same thing, and the emperors pretty much followed that model. They may have been unpopular with other aristocrats and other kind of people who were trying to take power and so forth, but Roman emperors kind of pretty universally agreed that populism was the way they were going to survive. They needed to keep the people on side, give them free bread, give them free entertainment, enact populist policies, like even like boring infrastructure policies like Claudius did. The people didn't like, and Claudius wasn't a popular emperor. Emperors, like, we get a bad rep from because the only accounts we have of them are from historians, and historians are, one, potentially, because history wasn't exactly objective back in those days, historians are more interested in the ancient world and telling like sensational tales. Like when we think about like Suetonius and the 12 Caesars, like that's not really a history book, it's a gossip rag. So all the stories in it we should take with a pinch of salt anyway. You know, the people generally quite like the Roman emperors. The fact that Roman emperors did kind of, you know, silly things that are deemed scandalous, like, oh, they married their horse and had sex with their sister and murdered their mother, that didn't affect the people of Rome. Emperors may have done, like, horrible things in their personal lives. By all accounts, most of them went a bit power mad and did some horrible things because they were completely lacking in all accountability. But that doesn't really matter to the people of Rome. It was kind of completely irrelevant. To the people of Rome, the emperors were, you know, just basically a free meal and some free money. Handouts that got more and more generous as the empire continued, in fact. But yes, as we stand in the shadow of the Colosseum... Wait, hang on a minute. If we're in the shadow of the Colosseum, what's this pit here? Well, that's not here. Alright, never mind. Apparently there's just some docks in a valley that's right next to the Colosseum, which is wrong, but never mind, we'll run with it. Well, having finally figured out that the dagger that killed our father, the N on it might have stood for Nero, finally, having, you know, murdered half of the population of Britain, we've made our way back to Rome and, oh, someone's here. Oh! Okay, so basically these are supposed to be the Praetorians who are like the guards of the Emperor. Now, there are actually, of course, historical Praetorians who are like the guards of the Emperor, but they didn't look like this. Oh, I'm sorry. It was only funny if you killed me, I see. So yeah, I was kind of expecting to just arrive in Rome and run into, like, you know, a sham trial or something and have to kill Praetorians to defend the innocent. But no, I just ran into an amphitheatre and they decided to start murdering me. So this was apparently the imperial policy at this point. Nero's own personal guard, the Praetorians, just basically were wandering around Rome, and if they saw anyone who was dressed like a Roman soldier, they just tried to murder him straight up. No reason, no crime, hadn't even done anything wrong. They just sort of started with the murder straight away. Praetorians, of course, are historically very interesting. In this game, they're like seen as, you know, the personal armed force of Nero that seems to project the Empire's personal strength around the world, because we saw them in Britain. The actual Praetorians are obviously nowhere near that strong. They don't actually project strength anyway. They just hung out in Rome and they were the Emperor's personal bodyguard. The thing is, they were very bad as a bodyguard because they had this awful habit of deposing emperors and imposing people who they liked better as emperor instead. I don't actually have a number off the top of my head. I'd need to look it up. But the number of Roman emperors who were killed by their own bodyguard, it's probably the single most common cause of death for Roman emperors, that they were killed by their own bodyguards, because it happened quite a lot, and I've got some javelins and everything is now good in the world. Are they actually wearing little black masks? Is that what's going on here? I think I saw one of them wearing a little black mask there. That's ridiculous. They are as well. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. The person who designed this bit of the game, they genuinely thought, how do we imply evil soldiers? And they'd seen the film 300 and they thought, oh, so we'll make Basilius, the Emperor's other son, we'll dress him up like he's Xerxes, and then we'll have all his bodyguards dressed up like immortals. And then everyone will understand they're the bad guys and they won't feel bad about killing them. Hey, did you hear the other day Nero murdered a baby with his own hands? Did he? Yes, he did, and he was laughing while he did it too. Well, thank goodness you told me in this loud conversation. I sure hope no one overhears this and uses it to justify their revenge. Oh, I'm sure they wouldn't.
No clean water, no sanitation, no bedding, and food. What food? I have to beg for it.
That's just completely wrong. Like, Rome being provided with water is the single most important thing that, like, every emperor had to maintain. You have to maintain the water supply. People have to be provided with water, they have to be provided with grain. As long as there's a grain allowance and water coming through the aqueducts, Rome was relatively peaceful. If a Roman emperor genuinely actually couldn't provide grain and water, the people would rise up. Because the thing is, you've got to understand about the scale of Rome. Here, have some history. You've got to understand the scale of Rome, which is quite frankly unique in ancient history. When we talk about Athens, Athens' population is, what, 10,000? Bit more? Not very much. Rome's population, again, we don't know. Though there is census data, it's rather inconclusive. It could have been north of 1 million, anywhere up to 1,500,000 people. In a situation when at that point in history, a mega-sized super city would have been 20,000 people, and Rome had over 1 million. The only way that a city that size could function was if there was huge amounts of free water, huge amounts of free food, huge amounts of free entertainment. It was essential. Any emperor that couldn't provide that would be popular uprising against them in minutes, where any armed force they could muster would be hugely outnumbered. Now, who are you, Booby McGee?
So the Emperor had them murdered. After all, that is what emperors do.
Oh, that's harsh. Emperors were also quite good at bringing peace and stability when the Republic had become completely ineffectual and corrupt.
Spirit of vengeance.
You already gave me this in Britain. How many of these do I need? Is this the second one? You're just giving me the first one back again? Because I already had this.
Save Rome from them.
Okay, but before I get confused a second time, could you just confirm by them you definitely mean Nero and his immediate family? And if you do, who's going to be emperor after that point? Or are you suggesting that by wiping out the emperor's heirs and the emperor, I'm going to restore the Republic somehow? Marius doing some blacksmithing here. I'm guessing creating a mask of Damocles. While, Basilius, what was his bloody name? I don't even remember. Xerxes, I'm just calling him Xerxes. While Xerxes is floating around in his pleasure palace. The simple fact is that these guys would have been too valuable to just throw into a little test fight. These guys would have been, you know, involved in major tournaments. And once they were in those major tournaments, they would be allowed to... They wouldn't die, really. Gladiators dying was relatively, well, not rare, but the big popular gladiators, it was somewhat rare. I mean, I showed to call gladiator fights like wrestling, where it was like, you know, a little bit staged and fake. But there was certainly an argument to which we believe, based on the fact that gladiators, major gladiators, despite being involved in supposedly very dangerous combat, didn't actually die that often and had very long careers. There's a possibility that they might have had a little bit of a gladiator code, whereby, you know, they pulled their punch a little bit and tried to avoid the most fatal of all combat. So this guy basically just sacrificed 2 incredibly valuable slaves in a relatively small private event, which is just unlikely to happen. It's just, yeah, not likely at all. Instead, Basilius would have, you know, just basically asked to speak to my agent, pretty much. Wanted to speak to my agent, and that'd be the life of it. Now, oh, okay, so this is how Basilius meets his end then. You know, for a man who knows that Romans are starving, hungry, have no water, he's very trusting to just go alone with a gladiator who he's never met before. Hey, you know, if you kind of murdered me, then theoretically you could put blood in it and everything. Let me just bleed into this bowl for you. Yeah, there we go.
Grey mountains drag down the Senate.
Are you a god or just a crazy prostitute? I'm not sure.
But Emperor Nero, he can only die by his own sword.
You say that, but he's a big man. Heart disease will get him sooner or later. I mean, I'll take it into consideration, but I'd be willing to bet if I were just to stab him a few times with my existing sword, it wouldn't do him the world of good. I mean, I love prophecies like that make no sense, where the prophecy's like, oh, he must die by his own sword. No, just get a kitchen knife, try shoving it in him a few times, just see how he reacts to that.
Now I would earn the right to fight him and cut this poison from the heart of Rome.
Aha! Now this is some actual good Roman history. The gladiatorial shows, at least, you know, when they were being very fancy, genuinely did. Their kind of thing was they would genuinely try and show historical victories. And very often, if there had been a recent conquest in the empire, they genuinely would show, like, recent history and just kind of portray it in a way. It was like, gladiatorial shows could be used for historical, though we think kind of ancient historical events, like, you know, the Siege of Carthage were more common, especially because gladiatorial shows became more common as the empire went on. As I was saying earlier, emperors incredibly populist. So basically they had to throw on more and more games. The problem was, as you put on more and more games, there were less conquests to celebrate because Rome kind of reached its natural limits. Not that Rome couldn't conquer more, but quite frankly, Rome ran out of stuff that was worth conquering. There was nothing there were no good lands that could be easily moved into, that could be easily held and would actually generate good income. That's nice. Now, the Colosseum could genuinely actually do that. Bits could, like, rise and fall and so forth, but probably not that quickly. Ah, and they've even got the shade done correctly. They were indeed like little folding and unfolding things to provide some shade to the crowd. Though, of course, obviously it was not perfect because it couldn't go the whole way across. But it could provide some. It could provide some things. Oh, we're reenacting our own game, are we? That's lovely. Ah, water's coming out. Again, the real Colosseum could actually do that, which was lovely. You see, the bloke with the bearskin I'm willing to accept here, because the Colosseum would obviously be completely uninterested in historical accuracy. It would just want something to be interesting. And we've got a nice Scorpio to help us out here. Hey, people of the crowd! Where's the Emperor? Yay, civilization! That's right, people of Rome. Damocles himself took back Dover or something. Okay, this would be an even worse gladiatorial show because you've literally blocked the crowd from seeing anything. I mean, I know people like to think gladiatorial fights were big, like, epic duels between amazing gladiators. Generally, the Colosseum Entertainment and Amphitheatre Entertainment in general was not this. Amphitheatre Entertainment was, like, this stuff obviously would be so expensive and difficult to do. You wouldn't actually do this very often. I need to remind myself exactly what the typical structure is, but you had more things like executions in the morning. I believe executions were in the morning, so like you could go along to the Colosseum and you could just see criminals being hung, just in a public place, just for fun. People like that sort of thing. Oh, was that Commodus himself? Has he decided to pop into the arena on this occasion? That didn't happen so much. Well, actually it did. We know that, like, some people liked fighting in the arena, some very noble, important people. We can only assume the fights were incredibly rigged. I think that seems like a fair assumption.
Damocles has been brilliant, hasn't he? So brilliant that I want his head. 1,000 denaries to whoever brings it to me.
No, you wouldn't do that. You'd actually specifically not kill him because you wanted him to fight subsequently because he was popular with the crowd and you wanted to keep the crowd entertained. But fine, you want me to kill absolutely all these guys? I will.
Commodus will destroy the aqueduct. What a finale!
It's a really stupid thing to do if the people of Rome don't have water at the moment. Just depict their leaders destroying the infrastructure that brings water to Rome. Hooray! This is, yeah, a great big show, but generally, gladiatorial shows would be much more about executions, animal fights and so forth. Animal fights were hilarious by all accounts, by the way. Again, Gladiator kind of informs us that we're mostly, you know, like, they were huge and epic and amazing and so forth. But by all accounts, they actually kind of weren't, because animals, for the most part, don't like big roaring crowds and the sun glinting off the white sand.
You have had the honor! Yes, the honor of witnessing the slaughter of every gladiator sent in against me!
Which would have been incredibly unpopular. Emperors let gladiators live because it made them look merciful and the people liked to see gladiators fighting over and over. Funny to take him on though. Okay, lovely. He's pretty confident for a man who got locked in a cage by some Scottish folk. Oh yes, we finally flipping got him. Again.
Pathetic!
You feel that poison? Can't take any chances, Damocles. You understand? I know I'm immortal, but the plebs can be so fickle. One lucky blow from you and my reputation.
Hello. Can we just be friends, perhaps? Oh, does he just freeze until I attack him? Yes, he does! Now this should be the end of you. Continue stabbing him a bit. Let's get some divine blood out of that immortal corpse. Lovely. Hello, Vitalian. Are you cool with the fact that I'm planning to murder the Emperor and potentially bring down the Empire and possibly dissolve the entire government? I mean, as various countries have learnt recently, succession planning is relatively important if you're going to topple a regime. Before we kill Nero, what's actually going to come after him?
Commodus has held the legions back, doing nothing, whilst a massive barbarian army has swarmed across the Empire, wreaking havoc as it closes in on Rome.
The Britons.
Yes.
What?
And their army has grown tenfold.
How?
Everyone who opposes Rome has allied with them.
What?
Even tribes from faraway lands have sent them massive beasts of war.
What? A mega barbarian army led by Britain has presumably invaded Gaul. And Commodus hasn't bothered to fight it. Despite how flipping warlike he's been up to this point.
But if Rome falls, then our world will descend into darkness. Chaos will lay waste to civilization. I will never let that happen.
You know, Rome just split in half into the Western and Eastern Empires, and the Western Empire dissolved, and it was generally pretty much okay. I mean, the Eastern Empire held together pretty well. The Byzantines did pretty well, all things considered. Justinian, quite frankly, went to go and he retook Rome for a period. You know, the Western Empire was not the only thing going. Though I will accept that the whole civilization needs to be protected argument for Rome is at least somewhat the case. The fact that the Vatican and Italy in general was able to hold on to so much accumulated knowledge during the Dark Ages was of use during the period after into the Renaissance. You know, Rome never faced direct invasion at any point before the Vandals showed up. So, Rome did face invasion, but Rome wasn't destroyed by barbarian invasion. Like, people talk about, you know, like, the hordes and all that sort of stuff. But actually, Rome, the invasion of the barbarians was not really what brought Rome down or damaged Rome. It was just a symptom. The cause was purely economic, which I think is much, well, it's much less interesting. I was about to say it's much more interesting, but I think most people probably consider economic causes much less interesting. Use the Scorpio to kill the invader. Alright. Oh no, we're actually doing some of this, are we? Yeah. There, you're all gonna die. So yeah, the causes of Rome's decline were very much economic, which is Rome, for want of a better term, was a massive Ponzi scheme. The problem was Rome was kind of based economically on slavery. Slavery was a huge important part of the Roman economy. Rome needed slavery. Oh, should be dealing with the archers. Rome needed slavery. And the problem was slaves, obviously, got old and they retired and they were freed and so forth, which means Rome needed a constant supply of new slaves because slaves were, you know, expensive, so you needed fresh ones brought in all the time. The only way to bring in fresh slaves was really to conquer new territories. So conquering territories was a bit of a problem because Rome kind of ran out of them. You know, like, you could see emperors running into new territories and they were doing it for glory, but it was also providing new slaves. But once you... Oh, that's actually an elephant! Right. Objective failed, an elephant killed your men. Yes, that would be a problem. Yes, elephants are actually attacking Rome. The thing that even Hannibal couldn't make happen has happened. You'd think they'd stop attacking this point, really. I mean, Rome's a big open city. It wasn't particularly well planned. There's a lot of stuff they could do. Let's just take out that guy too. The other problem that Rome had was that it constantly needed to expand because basically the Roman military machine was kept going by soldiers who were full-time soldiers, but if they completed their term of service and they were basically pensioned off with land, but there wasn't enough land in Italy, so they needed a constant supply of new territories to provide land to the soldiers. But if you, say, had an army that served its career without conquering new lands, what did you give them? Well, the answer had to be generally, like, you had to confiscate off your enemies, so the emperors had to, like, kill people to confiscate land to give to their soldiers, but eventually you run into a little bit of trouble with the whole situation. It's all a big Ponzi scheme, it's fun. You know, given the story within a story structure, at this point I'm presumably just regaling Nero with the story of how I protected Rome 10 minutes ago. Nero's probably just sitting there thinking, okay, I thought you were planning to murder me, but okay, keep telling the story of how you're protecting Rome, whatever. Admittedly, my thought of me and Boudica could be BFFs teaming up against the Emperor is feeling like it's becoming less likely. That's Boudica on an elephant. That's Boudica on an elephant right there. I mean, I know that's probably not her elephant, but she's riding it pretty well under the circumstances. Not a chariot? Nothing of that nature? No, an elephant. British chariots were cool. Just use a chariot. Oh, he got to kill it. That's disappointing. Why didn't I get to kill that elephant? I feel like I'm going to have to avenge Vitellion, which is possibly the only way this game can possibly justify me killing Boudica at this point, given me and her are effectively on the same side. We agree that King Oswald shouldn't have been killed. We agree Nero's a dick. We agree Commodus is a dick. The only way we could possibly justify me fighting Boudica at this point is some sort of blood frenzy revenge. Wait, hang on a minute. Hang on a flipping minute. The hero, who'd been coming round to a more peaceful solution at the last minute, engaging in an act of incredible violence in order to strike down a foe who didn't really deserve it, even though we were largely on the same side and could easily have been friends. This is the plot of the Aeneid. This is genuinely how the Aeneid ends. Aeneas, despite having coming round to not being a rage-filled monster and not going around murdering everyone earlier in the Aeneid, at the very end, he just gets angry and he kills his enemy in an act of violent revenge. Exactly like is this game intentional? No, that can't be intentional. That can't possibly be intentional.
Boudica.
Oh, I've also got a divine mandate to kill Boudica, even though me and her are logically on exactly the same side. If I were in his position, I'd just go up to Boudica, just say, you know what? Have Britain, yours, free. Everyone else, you can all have your countries. We'll just have Italy, and also we will gladly hand over Nero to you if you want. But if you'd like, I would like to kill him myself. Are you actually joking? Am I actually genuinely just am I just playing Frogger with elephants right now? Is that what's going on? Javelin in the boobs. Javelin in the boobs. Javelin, javelin, javelin. That's right. She's nervous because she knows what's coming towards her nipples right now. We should be friends. Ally. No, we can be friends. We're on the same side. We hate the same people.
We can't both win.
We can both win. You get Britain free. You withdraw. I get to kill the Emperor. It's fine. Now, can you be focused? Oh, I've just realised. At the beginning, the bag I handed over that was going to scare the barbarians. It's her head. Fine, we're just decapitating Boudica, who we established was historically, you know, injured. Commodus did wrong. Commodus should not have killed her father. I'm sorry, Boudica. Even though this game established that you were the victim, the Romans wronged you.
I say yield. Do it now, Boudica.
She's done nothing wrong. You invaded. Oh, we have to fight her again. Oh, for goodness flipping sake. I already beat her. Don't kick her off a ledge. Just cut her head off. You know what game? You win. I will accept that we're going to do a massive dishonor and execute someone who did nothing wrong to us, who we wronged, and whose enemies we agree were arseholes. Yes, we're not very different. We should be friends. Britain and Rome join forces, like in, say, some sort of Roman Britain, which was culturally quite advanced. True heroes execute prisoners of war who had surrendered. That's what true Roman heroes do. And that is the end of our long and boring story. Now I stab you.
Have you forgotten the Oracle's prophecy? Emperor Nero can only die by his own sword. You can't kill me. Only I can. You said so yourself. You anger the gods. Hand me your dagger, General.
No, don't give him a sword. Don't give him a weapon. And don't turn your back on him.
Those are my Praetorians. Guards! Guards! Damocles is here. He's here to kill me. Protect me now.
Good work, Marius, you loser.
To destroy Rome and end this foolish notion of civilization.
Marius, watch out!
Oh, you could have warned me a little bit earlier. Now, Nero, you have to die by your own sword, mate. I could have just stabbed you, but... Oh, I see.
In time, Rome healed, and her civilization once more grew and flourished.
I'm afraid it didn't. By the time we get to Nero, the Empire's pretty much moving into decline and will eventually just disintegrate.
Rome would endure.
It would, but as a tiny backwater province, it would kind of do very little between the time of, say, 600 AD and the Renaissance. Relatively little at all, aside from just being the home of the Pope. A moderately but not hugely powerful Italian city-state. That's Trajan's column. Okay, let's just have stuff from Trajan's reign in here as well, but put Marius on top of it for no good reason. Marvellous. Hopefully, at the very least, you've all learnt a little bit of Roman history. And I'm sure I will revisit something classical at some point. People have been telling me about Shadows of Rome that I should look at, which is apparently a game about solving the murder of Julius Caesar, but that's fine. It was Brutus, so we can move on to the next case. Now, as for solving the murder of Alexander the Great, now there's an interesting historical mystery. But let's leave it there for the moment, ladies and gentlemen. In the meantime, I've been John. This has been Many a True Nerd, and this has been Ryse, son of Rome. Thank you very much, and goodbye.